Oh, man. The hits just keep coming, don't they?
The staggering quality of the introductions.
All right. Well, here we go, guys. This will be a game that is much more fun to watch than that intro I just did. And that reason is because on the left side in the green, we have our Protoss player from Team Dignitas, the only one capable of taking out Huck so far today. It is Bling. And at the top of the map in the pink, we have our Evil Geniuses Zerg player. It is Machine.
That's right. So Machine coming in now, and the Terran players have been few and far between. We've only seen select so far in this set, but PvZ certainly a good matchup, fun matchup, stable matchup. But we'll see what it's going to, what both players are going to offer here. Looks like they're using the IPL version of the map. You can tell us apart from the GSL version because there's a Zelnaga tower in the top left-hand corner, and you don't have those kind of pocket, smaller resource expansions off to the corner.
Yep, that's right. So a big map regardless of, the bases and Zelnaga towers. So usually a map we do see leading to some longer games, but it also seems like Protoss aren't afraid to go for some two-base pressure on this map as well. There's a lot of paths that they can take their army through that are a little bit difficult to scout with for Zerg. So in Machine's case, he's going to really want to make sure that he has a lot of overlords in all the appropriate places on the map, and that he has a lot of Zerglings out there as well. I mean, Lings are cheap. It's so inexpensive to make a couple of Zerglings and just have them out along some common running paths, and it really helps you a lot. I mean, there's nothing worse than getting hit by an attack that you didn't see coming, because that just feels terrible, because there's no excuse for that. You should always know as a Zerg player when an attack is coming at you.
And looks like Bling got off for a 16 Forge there. Built up quite a few resources, but wants to get the Forge down first of all. Try to block this this expansion as long as he possibly can. But Machine just going ahead and going right for the third, not even going to mess with it.
Yep, why not? We see a lot of Zerg players doing that. They just want to get those bases down there as quickly as possible. And Bling is going to check that out here, and he does have the option, of course, to cannon, which we do see every once in a while. But I think he's probably just going to go back, try to block the natural for just a little bit and get his Nexus up and running, which he just did, so yeah.
Yes, he did. So Nexus on the way, Gateway right after that. We'll see cannon here in just a minute. And Machine, of course, it's going to be a question of, okay, he's going to have Zerglings out in time, not going to take a super quick third. And I want to know how much pressure Bling was going to put on here if he was going to try and deny this. But now that those Lings are out, that probe is going to not be a threat.
Yeah, I actually really like this method of opening by Machine, where you do just take the base right at the third right away, and then you make sure you get a couple Zerglings up before taking your natural. It just cuts down on a lot of the hassle that Protoss can do against you. And yeah, Machine's in a great place. I mean, he's had about as smooth of an opening as you can ask for. Getting your third first is always a little bit more risky, but it's not too bad in the current metagame. There's not a lot that Protoss will choose to do to kind of punish that at this point in StarCraft 2.
Yeah, Machine actually ended up, well, he has enough for an expansion right now, but he ended up producing another Queen right away, sending it all the way down to his third as well, and has not put up his natural.
Yeah, not quite yet. You can decide to put this third base down at around the the late 20s supply, even up to like 30. That is a little bit later here, but I kind of like the decision to get the Queens. It's vitally important to be able to inject a lot. It's vitally important to be able to spread your creep effectively, especially with the bases being rather far apart on this map. So that's a perfectly fine choice by Machine too. He's going to be able to get those bases connected quickly, which in the later parts of the game is going to really go a long way in letting him defend against those attacks that Bling is going to be sending at him.
Well, I mean, as the supply continues to climb as well, it gets a little bit weirder, but it looks like he's finally going to take this base here now, so
yeah,
bam.
That was pretty late.
Yeah, 37 supply, but he does end up taking it as he transfers a bunch more drones over to his opponent's base. Now, we've kind of neglected Bling here, but Bling, pretty standard stuff. I mean, nothing is really out of the ordinary, except for the fact that he hasn't researched +1 at all yet. So a lot of players will put that up actually before Warp Gate to make sure they can hit a super quick 4-gate pressure and try and deny a base. Now, Machine, having invested in economy for so long, may have a little bit better ability to play defensively. I'm not really sure. I'm a little more unclear of the specifics of this. I don't play Zerg, so...
Well, it's a bit odd for Machine to take his expansion this late, but I think he's just kind of playing things really safe. It does set him behind economically a little bit, but not a terminal amount. I mean, he's still going to have the opportunity to put out enough units to defend against this ideally. Interesting that that Bling is going for such a heavy gateway composition and not getting that +1.
Yeah.
I wonder if he forgot, or if he just wants to use that gas to make sure he has, an extra sentry out, possibly.
Could very well. We'll find out as he's ready to hit a 7 gates, and he does have a pylon up at the front. Looks like he does have a second one as well. Vision of it is granted by an Overlord, however. Oh, it looks like these units are all going to get taken out, so Bling going to have to warp in very, very quickly here. He's starting to turn these into warp gates, and he's going to need those units very fast.
Yeah, Machine, I think this is the reason why we don't see the +1, because he doesn't need to wait for it in this case. Sending in some Zealots to take out that Queen, and will the Queen get the pylon? No, not even close. And I think Machine is in a little bit of trouble here, man. How many drones does he have at the moment?
He's
only 38. Okay, yeah, so that's going to make it pretty tough to keep producing enough units to handle this.
Well, he does have a bunch of roaches coming up, though, quite early, and he does have a fair number of lings out as well. Without the +1, it's going to make these Zealots a little bit weaker against them. The hatchery has taken some damage there, and the roaches are just about to pop out. 11 of them, as a matter of fact.
Yep, and you can micro pretty well against Zealots with roaches, but that is a lot of Zealots, man. Machine just going ahead and giving up that third base. He wants to make a stand at his natural expansion. And, oh, Bling needs to be a little bit more careful with these Zealots. These are kind of getting a little bit wasted here.
Yeah, does lose quite a few of those, but takes out that hatchery, so Machine certainly going to be set back quite a bit.
Yep. Needs to start warping in some sentries. There we go. And another round of Stalkers would be good after this. Oh, pretty good force fields trapping those... Well, some of the roaches against the Zealots, I guess. He does get some.
Yeah, it certainly did the job, though, and the Zealots were able to take out quite a few of those roaches, swinging around the side as well, and Bling just going to continue to press forward.
Yeah, I mean, this is the problem that you run into if you look at Machine's money right now. If you can't get that drone count up to at least, 50-ish, you have a really hard time holding this type of thing off. But with that late third base, he was not able to do that. Has to pull drones to help defend, and at the very least, Bling, even if this attack gets pushed back, has done so much damage.
Yeah, I mean, all those drones pulled off the line now. The Zealots still haven't been appropriately dealt with. More roaches are continuing to fall. Finally, Bling looks like he's going to fall back a little bit, losing a couple of Zealots as he does.
Yeah.
But as we can see, Machine trying to put up a third base once again, morphing in a few more units at the moment, but down to 35 workers.
Yep, exactly. Surpassed in workers by his Protoss opponent. That's never a position that you really want to be in. Now, Bling does only have 38 probes. He's making more now, but this was a bit all-in-ish, so his economy isn't going to be that much farther ahead than Machine. The big difference is that with Zerg, you just always need to be a base up, to match them in terms of units, in terms of being able to handle them, just because the Zerg units obviously are a lot more fragile.
And finally, Zergling speed is on the way. A few more roaches coming out now for Machine as well. And it looks like he's just going to continue to try and do some damage here. Bling making his way up. He does dispatch of the Zerglings pretty efficiently. Machine having a few of his units trapped once again, but the Zealots aren't able to get in there and engage, but the Stalkers really haven't been opposed. But Machine finally starting to kind of turn the tide, but a few Zealots warp right in behind. That was really good warp in there from Bling.
Yeah, I mean, the Machine looking like he's not targeting down sentries or anything like that, just trying to micro against whatever is there. And Dignitas Bling slowly kind of getting the advantage, although Machine still maintaining the supply advantage. He's able to push Bling back, but okay, now he's starting to squeeze out another drone or two. Man, if he comes back and wins this game, it is going to be absolutely incredible.
And as we can see, Bling is actually up to 45 probes now. That number is continuing to increase, but of course you have to take those out of the army supply overall. The Zealot trying to get in there and do a little damage, but Machine is able to deflect that pretty easily.
I think we're seeing a good example, too, of why Protosses generally don't attack without that +1 upgrade.
Yeah.
You can just see how much more effective the Zerglings are. They last a lot longer. Your speed finishes for Machine. That's a big moment right there, actually. If Machine can make a lot of Zerglings, get a nice round on those sentries, he can obviously make Bling force field in a way that he doesn't want to, to protect the sentries rather than to cut up the army. So that was a big moment there for Machine to get to the point where Zerglings do have speed now. And he's actually starting to push back Bling a little bit. Not bad. Oh, even getting some sentries here.
Yeah, very well done. He's going to be able to pin down those units for a little while longer.
Wow.
Is he getting more sentries? Yeah, 2, 3, 4, all of them. And he gets the Zealot as well.
Machine with such a great hold, but I feel like Bling's build just wasn't as effective as it could be. It came fast and it did hit hard, but it lacked, it lacked staying power. It hits initially pretty hard, but then after that, that's about it. It doesn't really last very long in terms of an all-in. It can't go as long as like a +1 attack would or something like that. So Machine pushed back on 3 bases again, making drones in a pretty great spot right now.
Yeah, and he is making drones. Looks like he's going to be on 55 here in just a second as he puts up a couple more gas as well. 1-1 on the way for him as well. Bling did just finish up +1 weapons, but now Machine is able to stabilize on 3 bases. And because this attack took so long, Bling doesn't have a ton of resources available, and he's starting to get mined out of both his main and his natural.
Yeah, Machine putting down his macro hatch as well. He's got his lair finished. We'll have to see what sort of tech he decides to add in. I would actually say that Aspire would be perfectly fine to go for at this point because he does have his opponent push back, but it will be the more typical Infestation Pit and Roach Speed, so just kind of a normal build here from Machine. And he always has been more the Infestor player than the Muta player anyway, so it's not really a shocking choice from him.
And he's going to go double macro hatch, as a matter of fact, as he has one dropping down over at his third as well. So his Roach count has stabilized a little bit. He's got his drones up to 63. Bling is taking a third base at the moment, and it'll be interesting to see if Machine can get in there and maybe do some damage or try and deny it, because Bling, once he gets on 3 bases, is going to be just fine.
Well, yeah, he certainly wants to try. He's sending that Zergling in right now to scout that, and when he sees it, he's going to be glad he made those 2 macro hatches because he's going to be able to make an army very, very quickly and potentially get in and deny that third. So Machine kind of doing everything right now. Bling doing a pretty good job of trying to recover from the position that he's in. You know, the nice thing about Protoss is that you can chrono boost out a lot of probes, so even if your all-in doesn't quite work out, you can still catch up on workers fairly quickly compared to something like Terran, you know, even though they do have mules. But that is a lot of chrono boost too that's not being used on things like upgrades and those higher tier units too. So it does have a bit of a disadvantage at the same time.
And Machine going to duck out with a few additional links here. Still hasn't quite scouted that Nexus, and unfortunately it is finished up now, and Bling's army is in position, so it's going to be a lot harder to try and assault that position.
Oh, yeah.
There we go. 6 Infestors now popping up. That's what all the resources are being banked for, and 12 more links making their way out as well, along with the 4th base for Machine.
Yep. So right now we've got a bit of a lull in the action as both players try to get their higher tier tech up and running. Kind of just make sure that they have a lot of presence on the map, which Machine is certainly winning that fight right now. And then, you know, just kind of wait until they feel like they're confident to attack and then go for it. Looks like it's going to be +2 in Blink, potentially 4 Blink.
Yeah, with a good Immortal count as well, adding on 2 of those at a time. So his Immortal count is going to soar very, very quickly. But of course, with the emphasis being built into Lings and Infestors right now, those Immortals, while certainly going to be very useful, I mean, aren't going to have that many roaches to kill.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and once they kill those roaches, then what do they do? You know, they just kind of sit around taking pot shots at Zerglings, which doesn't really help the Protoss army all that much. I will say one thing, that Bling has done a good job in keeping up with supply with Machine. Machine was hindered quite a bit because of those early losses, but, you know, Bling's done a good job of macroing out of this too.
And looks like 9 more workers coming up for a total of 88 with Hive Tech on the way now. So Machine will be able to move over to Ultras if he wants to pretty quickly as well. Going to start swinging his way in now, though. And a lot of those Zerglings did actually get through. The Immortals are actually being occupied with the Zerglings off to the side, but pretty good force fields up at the front do keep most of the roaches at bay. Fungal Growth's continuing to hit a couple of the units up front, though, as the Stalker numbers do dwindle a bit, and it looks like Bling is going to hold.
Yeah, Machine needs to be so careful with this. This was actually bad attack timing, in my opinion, from Machine. I mean, if you look at 2-2, it's over halfway done right now. There was really no reason not to wait. And why attack at the natural, too, you know, when you could swing around and try to harass those gateways at the third? So I feel like Machine in this case may be thinking like he's got a little bit more of a lead than he does, and maybe getting a little bit too over-eager there, because he just sacrificed a lot of units that I don't really feel he needed to sacrifice at this point in the game. And he gave Bling a potentially pretty decent counterattack timing as well.
That's right. There are still a ton of Infestors there. Or a ton of Immortals, yes, excuse me. And the Infestor count is still pretty strong. Machine did do a good job of keeping those alive, but now we have some High Templar up at the front as well, and Archons and feedback completely change things.
Yep, that's right. He's going to be able to feed back all those Infestors and then change those into Archons right away. Things looking pretty rough for Machine.
All right, we'll see if he can go ahead and defend
go.
this. Oh, the feedbacks were so good! He hits almost all the Infestors, just 1 or 2 Fungal Growths available now for Machine. And the Archons are morphing in at the moment, but everything was torn up.
Yeah, that is going to be about it. Hardly any Zealots going down at all with all those Archons and Immortals. Great attack from Bling. Machine has nothing to respond to this. All his Infestors are out of energy. The Spire's about to finish, but he doesn't have resources to use it, and I think we may see a GG very soon.
All right, well, looks like a couple of bases going to fall down here as well. Oh, the Infestor's getting picked off as well, even though they're burrowed. I think there was there's an Observer sitting right next to that Overlord. And really, what does Machine do from here? He's trying to filter in as many units as he can, but he just can't fight back this huge tide of Protoss.
Yeah, exactly. GG, there it is. And
Wow.
Bling taking another win.
Yes.
So they're tying things up here versus Evil Geniuses.
Yep, each